Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about retire here with just Social Security, no nest egg.
The new numbers for Social Security are out, and it looks like the average Social Security payments for 2025 are going to be, for a couple who are both getting the benefit, $3,900, and for a single, around $1,900. So we thought it would be a good idea to kind of run down a list of countries that you could comfortably live in for that amount of money without having any nest egg at all. People say, well, we retired, we had to save up this much, this much, this much. What if you only have a little bit, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 saved up, and you're worried, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere or do anything? Well, this is going to give you an idea of where you could actually go, what you could actually do. So our budget, monthly budget, is about $4,000. We're not on Social Security yet, but that is what we are spending. And it's going to kind of go in line with the $3,900 that you could get as a couple. We're also going to know what you could do in each of these countries on the $1,900 if you were a single, or even if you don't get the full benefit, what you could do maybe if you're only getting $1,200 to $1,500. So let's just jump right in with the first country where you could go, and this is an amazing country, and that is Malaysia.
That's right, Malaysia has tons of options. The two big places where a lot of people concentrate around and where your money will definitely go a little bit farther is Penang and in Kuala Lumpur. And we've actually spent quite a bit of time in Kuala Lumpur, and it is a phenomenal place. It's a great place because your money goes a long ways here. You've got the bonus of pretty much everybody there speaks English, and the other bonus is that there's so many different services available, including healthcare, which is actually, if you've seen videos here on their channel, where I had major surgery last year.
So to stay under a $3,900 a month budget, your housing is going to need to come in at about $1,500 per month. The way that we budget this out is housing is going to be about $1,500, food's going to be about $1,000, insurance $250, and then little things are going to add up the rest to make up the $3,900. But at a $1,500 housing point in Kuala Lumpur for a couple, you're going to get the best housing in the city. We like to stay at a place called Star Residences there. We pay about $1,500 a month, including all utilities. It's just amazing. Like, the pools are phenomenal. It's a guarded building. The location is great, right near the Twin Towers. So it's just a great place to stay. Some of the best housing in the world per dollar that you could get.
Well, not actually even near the Twin Towers, but you have a gorgeous view of the Petronas Towers from the Sky Pool. Two pools, an insane gym that feels like it's like a commercial sized gym. It's so wild. And just, they've got restaurants directly in the building. Like, you literally don't have to leave the building. You can get delivery service. There is a grocery store right next door. Just so much is available there. It's incredible. It's right in the middle of everything, and it's close to get anywhere you need to go.
Now, for a single, this would also work. You would need to cut your budget in half from about $1,500 to $750, and then everything else would cut in half as well. So that's going to mean you're going to need to keep your housing about under $750 a month. Now, you're probably not going to be able to hit the Star Residences for that. It's going to be likely over $1,000 at a minimum, but there are plenty of very nice places in Kuala Lumpur where you could do that. So that's going to be an option for you. Food delivery there, among the cheapest in the world. I think it's even cheaper than Thailand. It may be cheaper than Vietnam. Food, for some reason, is incredibly cheap in Kuala Lumpur. We were getting deliveries from American restaurants like TGI Fridays, Chili's, for $6.50, lunch delivered for both of us with the delivery fees. Like, I don't even know how that's possible, but it was happening, and it was amazing. So you really can't comprehend the prices there unless you go check that out. And I do want to mention too that this does include, our budgeting does include one flight per year back to the US to visit people. So that is included, kind of prorated monthly in the budget. So Malaysia, a big winner. Let's move on to Colombia, because that's also one that you could do pretty easily.
Yes, and erase anything that you have in your brain from the 1980s from Colombia. Colombia is a great place to go. We've been there several times now. Absolutely love it. Cartagena, Medellin, Santa Marta, all wonderful places, all different temperaments too, which was pretty cool. To kind of, you know, one was a beach town, one was a big city, and one was kind of a, you know, beach city for a big city. But it was absolutely incredible. The experience there is wonderful. The people are unbelievable, and the food, oh my goodness, you have to stop yourself from eating everything that they have to offer. But the big thing here is that your money goes so far and you get so much for it. And this is actually a place where you get something unique that you don't get in a ton of places, that you can actually include in a small budget as well, and that is a housekeeper for your apartment.
Yeah, we were surprised by that when we got there, that the apartment basically comes with a housekeeper. Most of the apartments are assigned a housekeeper by the owner, and that's just the housekeeper, and you'll pay them weekly, and you can tell them how many days a week you want them to come and how often you want them to be there. A lot of the Colombians that are there, they have them come every single day, and from morning till dinner. And the housekeeping isn't just housekeeping, because it's more of like what we would consider almost to be like a butler service, because they're cooking all their meals during the day, they're cleaning, they're doing laundries, they're going to the store. They're basically doing anything that they need done. We've seen them taking care of the pets, like walking the dogs, all that kind of thing. So it's, for most people that live in Colombia, it's a daily thing. We were there, we just had them come once or twice a month. It was once or twice a week. It was pretty amazing though. and the cost really didn't add that much to the stay.
Absolutely, it was so great, because on those days we'd, you know, that she was scheduled to come, we would just say, okay, well, we'll just, you know, work on different projects those days, and she made our meals for us, served them to us, and we could eat as we were working, didn't have to stop to deal with that. She, like Rob said, would go to the store for us if we needed a few groceries or whatever. She would go do that, and it was really nice too, because she did laundry as well as, you know, clean the apartment. It was absolutely incredible that it was such a low cost to have her included with our stay.
Yeah, now another benefit to Colombia is the time zone. If you're from the US, you're going to be basically in a US time zone, which is a big advantage if you like to do things like watch sports or keep up with things. If you want to unplug from the US when you're in Asia, you can really do that, because everyone's asleep when you're awake, and everyone's awake while you're asleep. So you're not going to hear from people as much when you're in Asia, or be like currently up to what's happening in that day. So that's kind of something to think about. The other thing is, not as much English spoken in Colombia. And I forgot to mention Malaysia. Malaysia is probably the country with the most English spoken outside of like the US, Canada, Australia, and England. It is just, English is just prevalent there. And you will not have any problem. Everybody speaks English in Malaysia. Colombia, not so much though. You will want to have a little Spanish knowledge to go to Colombia.
Yes, it was useful that I speak Spanish fluently and could communicate with them, because like for communication with, say, like the housekeeper, she didn't speak any English whatsoever, like zero. So it was not a problem for us, because I could communicate with her easily. But it is hard to communicate with, like, if you didn't, you know, have any Spanish, it would be hard to communicate with like taxi drivers and with different people working in a variety of services.
Yeah, that is why a lot of people do pick Malaysia, because English is everywhere. In fact, the local language, Malay, you rarely see it. Like, it's just, everything's in English. So not a problem there. Next up's going to be Vietnam. Well, I did forget to mention too, Colombia. If you're going on a single person solo on the 1500, easily done there, because we're talking about a $1,500 condo at the beach. You could come into the city. You probably wouldn't be on the beach for $750 a month, but you would definitely be in a nice place in the city. Vietnam, moving on. This is pretty much by far the cheapest of all the countries. People in all the other countries tell us how cheap Vietnam is, and it is true. It's the cheapest. A lot of people, even in our comment section, that are expats living in Vietnam, they say their budget is under $1,000 per month. Totally get that. We tried to live super high on the hog there, the best of everything. We could not spend more than $2,500. Just it's like almost impossible.
We tried.
It's almost impossible to spend $3,000 a month there. So yeah, you could live. I mean, we did the last time we were there. We did go to a resort, like on a private island. Got the executive suite. Ordered the full board, like all inclusive, all meals, and it was still just $130 a day, which is like $4,000 a month. So you could, if you're living normally, you know, it's really hard to spend $3,000 in Vietnam, and if you're single, really hard to spend $1,500 if you're not getting like a super high accommodation. So Vietnam is just a place that we love. It's amazing food, right?
Oh my goodness, the food there is incredible. Again, not just the Vietnamese food, which is unbelievable on its own, but then you throw in the fact that they do offer, have a lot of restaurants from a variety of places too, including a lot of American places and, you know, American style type food in local restaurants also, which is really, really nice when, you know, you're missing a little food from home. It's nice that those things are available when you want to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah. Next up is going to be the Philippines, and this is also a very inexpensive place. Now, we don't normally talk about the Philippines, although it is great. The reason we don't talk about it as much is because there aren't as many high-end accommodations in the Philippines, and that is what we like to stay in. We'll just be honest with you. We like those high-end accommodations that are in Malaysia and in Thailand and even in Vietnam. There aren't as many in the Philippines at a good price point, but if you're looking to go on a budget and looking for like one tier down from that, which is still amazing, Philippines is great because it's filled with places you could stay inexpensively and you could easily live on the $3,900. If you were a single person, you know, if you wanted to get a studio apartment somewhere, you could do that, and you could really be under that that $1,500 mark quite comfortably.
Yeah, absolutely. For our next two, we're going to hop on over to the European continent, and the first of those two is Italy. I know people always say, how could you possibly talk about Italy in a budget country video? But it's quite simple. It's very cost-effective place to be. Food is not that expensive there. Housing, depending on where you're staying, can also be incredibly reasonable there as well for couples and for a single too. So it's really one that we almost always include in our budget countries because Italy is definitely one of those places that your money will go far.
Yeah, if you want to look to where it's really going to go far, don't look at Rome, don't look at Milan or Venice. Look at Sicily. Just pull those up on Airbnb and look and see what you're going to get for $700-800 a month there. We did a month stay in Monopoli, which is in the south of Italy. That region generally is cheaper than the north. And so if you're trying to go there and live, you know, under $3,000, even on $1,500 a month for a single person, you could do it, but you're going to have to find your accommodations that are going to fit your budget of $600-700. You can do it though. We stayed in a really nice place in Monopoly for $750 a month, and those places are everywhere. Look to the southern regions of Italy. Look to the small towns. Just don't look at Rome, and you'll be fine. Now you could actually do Rome if your budget's $4,000, but you would maybe not be in as good a place as you wanted to be.
Yeah, that would be the challenge in those bigger cities, but you can get just outside those cities. And honestly, the small towns are so lovely, and the experiences there are so incredible that I would highly recommend those over the big cities. Although I'm not telling you to skip the big cities, I would still encourage you to visit them. But if you're going to do, you know, longer stays on a budget, then definitely look to those small towns. It is such a wonderful experience. I would 100% do it again.
Next up is going to be Portugal, and there are a lot of places expats are going in Portugal. One's going to be Porto, also Lisbon. Now they have kind of raised the prices there a little bit because there's so many expats there, but it's still affordable for Americans on Social Security if you're going to be going and doing that. If there's two of you, you can certainly afford something very, very nice there. And the rest of the expenses for your year-round living just aren't as expensive as you would think. When you think Europe, we often think expensive, but you're thinking vacationing again, not thinking living. So think about it in these terms. If you were a European coming to America and you said, oh, we're going to go to New York City and Washington, D.C., you'd think that's pretty expensive. But what if you were going to go live in southern Indiana for a week? That'd be pretty inexpensive. So that's the same thing when we go to Europe. Don't think going to Rome and London for the week. That's how we get confused with how expensive things really are. When you're in these smaller towns in Portugal and Italy, it is the same thing applies. It's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah. Now, one country that we never leave off of the list when we're talking about budget countries is Thailand. And I think it's well documented on our channel that we love Thailand, not just for the people, the culture, and the incredible food, but it is also very cost effective. It is one of the most budget friendlies behind Vietnam that is incredibly safe. It is very conducive to keeping your numbers low. We have other videos here on the channel breaking down more costs as far as Thailand specifically is concerned, but we've been many times over the years, and we just continue to go back because it is such a great place to go. Again, not just for the people and the incredibly rich culture and of course the delicious food, but it's always very friendly to our budget.
Yeah, on the high end in Thailand probably has the best high-end properties per dollar in the world. There's almost no question about that. They just have luxury everywhere, and it's not that expensive. We had a place on the beach, right on the beach, with private jacuzzi on the balcony. Like, these are the things you couldn't even look at in the United States. There were condos there that have their own pool. Like, in a condo building, there's a pool on the balcony. It's crazy. And it's like, they were kind of scary looking, but like, it's so weird to look at this. Like, people have pools on their balcony in a condo. I don't know how that happens, but we were doing that in our $4,000 budget, not the pool one, the jacuzzi one. We were also on the beach for $1,000 a month, looking right directly at the beach, with just incredible pools. It's unless you go and look at it, you really can't understand how amazing the housing market is in Thailand. On the lower end, you can stay in an amazing condo in a beach town for $300-400 easily. I think we've shown on the channel people doing it for $200 a month. $400 is nothing there. You could get a lot for $400 in Thailand. So it's probably the number one place. It's always number one in our book. But there's so many people living there right now on Social Security, not just from America, from Australia, from Germany, from all over the world, because they know their money goes super far there. Mm-hmm. Huge expat communities, and you just find people being very happy there. And when people go to Thailand, that's kind of the basis of this video. That's when they have that moment that they say, oh, if only I had known this sooner, I would have retired 10 years ago, because I didn't know I could live like this for the rest of my life and not have to worry about it. That's where they figure that out. So moving on, we're going to go to Mexico.
And Mexico you kind of have to be careful here because it has been kind of infiltrated by so many expats that, you know, kind of like in some of these other places, like we were saying with Portugal, you know, the prices go up as they get flooded with expats because that's basically the only people who they're catering to. But if you pick out, you know, the right place, it can be still be very budget friendly. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you know, Mexico is so expensive anymore, you can't really go there. There are still tons of places that you can go to. It just can't be those places where there are tons of expats and that's who they're catering to. You know, your places like San Miguel de Allende or Merida, different places like that, those are going to be a lot harder to stay within budget. But if you head, you know, to the next town over, or there are lots of other places that you can go to that are very affordable. You could still get great pricing for housing. The food's going to be incredibly reasonable, and, you know, as well as everything else.
Yeah, you do get this sense that when Americans arrive en masse to a place, that raises the price. And so the closer you are to America, the more the price is going to have gone up. So Mexico will be the most. Colombia has not gone up because most Americans are still afraid to go there. And so there's just not that many there. We don't see that many there, and the prices reflect that. When you get to Europe, the prices are up a little bit because it's easy for Americans to get there, but it's not as easy as Mexico. But then when you get to Asia, the prices have not gone up at all because Americans just don't go there in mass quantities. It's mostly Australians and people from that side of the world. So you won't see the same effects that have been taking place in Mexico in these other countries. The further you get away from America, the further your money is going to go. And it really isn't that big a deal to be far away because it's just one flight home per year. And it's not that expensive for how much money you're saving year round.
Yeah, absolutely something to consider. Hopefully you are interested in one or more of these countries that we have mentioned here. Honestly, we've experienced them all, and that's why they're on the list, because we think that they would all be great places to retire to. Guys, if you have any questions, leave those down in the comment section for us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.